Unusual start to weekly Wowos. Two guys today. Myself, Franklin Kawowo. Dennis is not here. He's in Kigali, covering the Kwibuka tournament where the Victoria Pearls are beating everyone else. And they are almost en route to defending the title. But that will come a little bit later. Welcome everyone to today's edition, our episode of the Weekly Wars. I'm joined by a resident football guy, actually a guy who does everything there is to write about, David Isavie. David, welcome. It's been a while since you were on the show. How are you? How have you been?
I'm good. I'm once again happy to be here after, I think, 4 weeks.
A whole month.
I was away for the school games, the Schools World Cup, USSA in Ingora, and the football championship in Bukedia. Rather, football was in Ingora, the other games were in Bukedia.
Yeah.
So I'm back. I watched a couple of the Bika matches when I was back, and the league climax, as well as the Uganda Cup.
Yeah, welcome back. Welcome back. Obviously, as tradition here at Weekly Wars, we always have the weekly starters. Where you have to tell us what caught your attention in the past week. What has been something that caught your attention this past week?
There are three events. One is from the athletics field. During the last week, we had a countdown to the 100 years of celebrations of Uganda Athletics. They rebranded from Uganda Athletics Federation to Uganda Athletics.
Yeah.
So they utilized the previous 7 days to maximize the build-up as they celebrate 100 years. The events proper were held on Saturday at Mandela National Stadium, Nambole, and there was an opportunity for kids to showcase, to mingle with the stars. Joshua Cheptegei, Jacob Cheplimo flagged off the mass race. Of course, Uganda Athletics Federation had an opportunity to reward money to a tune of $50,000. They invited the top athletes from Kenya, from South Sudan, from Eritrea, and Ethiopia. Of course, even ours here. The Musagaras Ren, Halima Nakai, Tom Dradiga, and the javelin thrower, Jocelyn Lalam. Witnessing Nambole National Stadium almost half full because of the athletics reminded me of what we see in Kenya and elsewhere. Athletics is the golden sport for Uganda because the 5 gold medals we have from the Olympics all come from athletics.
Yeah.
So witnessing 100 years of celebrations, it was a milestone for them.
Yeah.
Then the second event was
let me cut you short right there. You talk about the reward money for the event, which is a bronze event, I think.
Yes,
right now they made it a bronze
event.
event. How big, how huge is that for Uganda Athletics to have a bronze event finally back at Nambole?
Of course, it has been a roller coaster of events. It has been a roller coaster of. It has been a struggle to have the money, the big money is attached. Yeah. All you have to prove is to prove to World Athletics that you have the mantle to organize such an event. Yeah. Well organized like it was. Yeah. Then you have that money, the prize money. Yeah. So credit goes to the government of Uganda through National Council of Sports for putting that big sum of money. Yeah. You know, when you come and run and take home something, that is the professional bit of it. Yeah. Of course, the money will multiply and multiply because there are some more events which carry even $100,000, even some 200. Yeah. That is the gold. And that shows the athletes have something to run for. Joshua will not be flying every week and Chiplimo plus the rest to Europe to pick that money. You can also pick that money from Nambole.
Yeah, without spending a lot.
Without even spending much on air tickets and the hotel.
Yeah. Okay, great. We congratulate, by the way, Uganda Athletics for marking 100 years of being in this country. and producing athletes that are bringing gold medals to Uganda. Obviously, given that sort of achievement over time, you want to believe that more work has to be done, especially with the participation for a sport that is as golden as that. I think it needs to be maybe administrated better, maybe be more intentional about getting these athletes to compete and preparing them for the global events where you should treat actually athletics as some sort of employment, because you can now imagine if you have at every event you have maybe 10 Ugandans running, whether they are running at a bronze event, whether they are running at a gold event, but a platinum event. When you have Ugandan athletes competing as many as possible, that could also serve as some mean of employment for a country that has talented long distance runners.
Of course, it remains work in progress for Uganda Athletics Federation, for Athletics Uganda. Right from the rebranding process itself, it remains work in progress. Yeah. The way they are positioned, one should be envious why a football federation, that is FUFA, has so many sponsors, yet athletics, which has brought results hands-on. Many athletes have participated in the World Athletics, Commonwealth, Olympics, but they were from the management of the federation itself. It leaves something to be desired. So, making 100 years since 1925 shows they are moving steps ahead. Yeah. There is time to knock on the sponsors' doors. More sponsors should come on board. There is time to organize athletic camps away from Kapchora and Kabale, because we have so many altitude areas, even in Arua. Yeah. So the Buko people and people in Kapchora should be very happy that at least athletics is spreading hands, especially long distance runners. Yeah. Then, where we have lacked are the short middle distance events and the field events. The short put, the javelin, the long jump, the high jump, 100 meters, 200 meters.
Don't talk about 400. Don't talk about pole vault, because maybe our producer could help.
Basically, we have more work to do in the middle distance running, more than the long distance runners, where we have proven athletes, especially the pace setters, early pace setters. Yeah. Moses Kipsiro, Boniface Kiprop, yeah. Of course Stephen Kiprotich winning the Olympic gold marathon. They opened the way to the present day Kiprotich, rather Kiplima and Cheptegei. Yeah. Plus of course Perith Chemtai. Yeah. So we have more work to do as regards the short distances and the field events.
People talk about concentrating on where you have a competitive advantage. I mean, if it is long distance working for us, and probably our physiology, if I may put it that way, doesn't really help us with competing in middle and short distances. I mean, there's not much you can do, but at least you can focus on at the long distance where you have that competitive advantage by, for example, I mean, if you look at actually the grounds at which our athletes compete at or train at, the Boma ground in Kapchora, it is not even flat. If you have to move from Kapchora to go to Teriet for training, I mean, they have to make it as simple as possible for these athletes to practice almost every day. Of
course, we should be very happy that we have very long distance runners, people who can do the job very well, especially when you compare to the countries which are in our bracket, Eritrea, Ethiopia, and Kenya. Yeah. A time reaches when you're counting the medal, like when you're all African Games, when you're counting the medal count, middle distance events come into play. Yeah. Of course, we have established runners in long distances. A time reaches when you have to prove your worth in the field events and, of course, the middle distance events.
Great. You said you had very many stats.
No, there were three. One athletics, it's done. Two were football.
Okay.
On Saturday there was a Bika final. Between the winners, Ngabi Nsamba, who defended their title to make it 6 since 1950, when Mbogo first won the championship. Of course, what caught my attention was the manner in which they were stretched out for their second title in a row by the losing finalists. That match produced 4 goals in normal play. 4 goals in normal play before heading to the penalties. And the absence of the Kabaka still turned down a couple of people, because the Kabaka is a crowd puller himself. But I commend the organization of the kingdom, the Buganda kingdom, because the Bika accommodates only Baganda, but even if you play in the super division or even big league, you can play. It's one tournament which has been played over years, 1950, apart from the COVID years, 1979, I think. It's one tournament which has united the Baganda.
And
of course,
sort of sense of belonging.
To prove the might, it has also brought on board companies, corporate companies. There's a bank, there's a telecom company. And there's happiness every time football is played at Wankuruku, especially on the ground which has been improved. The third event is in the big league. It is coming to a climax. But one match of the 7 matches which are played on game day 28 was between Boma in Masindi against Gaddafi. They started 7. You know, the football rules have to play 7 players. At least 7 minimum. They started with 7, and by the time it ended first half, they were not even 8 or 10. Second half, they came more 2 players.
And this is in the big league.
In the big league, the league below just the
Premier League. And these are the teams that are competing to come to the Premier League. And
the final score, guess what? It was 4-0.
David, you shall come to the big league. I think there's something more to talk about than just Boma having 9 players complete at
especially
the match.
at the final bend of
the season. So obviously, guys, the usual host of the show, Dennis Musali, is not here, and he's definitely somewhere. He's in Rwanda, as I said earlier, covering the Kwibuka tournament where the Victoria Pearls are competing. And of course, as a show host and a usual suspect, he has to get his opportunity to talk about what is happening in Rwanda. And of course, when you're a cricket fan like that, you have an eye on what is happening back home. So then you should tell us something about the Kwibuka and obviously the National Cricket League, where, by the way, Wanderers have won a second game. And guess what? Against the team they beat in the first round. It's that bad.
All right, the weekly Wowos, again, another episode that I'm missing, but I'm excited to keep following you guys even away from home, and I'm sure that the guys are holding fort very, very well. This week, just the first week of the 11th edition of the Kwibuka Women's Tournament has concluded. We are getting into the business end of things. Uganda so far 5 out of 5 for them. The girls are doing well, the defending champions. But I think this next week, the round of games is going to be the defining week for them. They will be taking on Tanzania, Nigeria, and the host Rwanda for them to try and finish among the top 4 teams, which I'm sure they should be able to do. The top 4 teams are the ones that will qualify for the business part of the tournament. The top 4 teams will qualify for the semi-finals. Number 1 will take on number 4, and number 2 and 3 will play against each other. Hopefully, the way things are looking like, Uganda and Rwanda are the only unbeaten side so far. Zimbabwe, Tanzania, the Zimbabwe high performance team, not the Zimbabwe main team, the Zimbabwe high performance team, Tanzania and Nigeria are pushing for that final 4th place, for the final 3rd and 4th place. So it should be interesting among the 3. But like I've said, Uganda, their week is going to be defined by the games they're going to start playing, starting with tomorrow when they take on Tanzania. Thereafter, they'll play Nigeria and also play against the host Rwanda. Uganda using this tournament to try and fine-tune themselves for the qualifiers that will be coming up in August. where they're looking to go to the global qualifiers again. So, and teams like Tanzania are in the same group that will be in Namibia. So I think this will be a very good test for them to match up against each other. So that's what is happening at the Kwibuka tournament. And of course, I'm sure you've read all those stories on Kawowo Sports. But maybe just give you something about the local league, what's happening. The action is getting interesting. I'm sure Kawowo is hating, but my own Wanderers was able to defeat Rounders in what is being dubbed as the League Derby. Wanderers winning against Derby. Some nice photos taken by John Butter at the Lakeside Ofo in Entebbe. If you follow our social media pages, you should have seen them from the action that was in Entebbe. But I think the highlight from the match day this weekend was a century scored by Joseph Baguma of Abojo against Avengers. Those young boys can hit the ball. He scored a century when they were chasing down 170 odd. So that means that that was out of the 100 runs, one man himself scored 100 runs. So that was something very good. The second century of the season, if I'm not mistaken. Last weekend, Yashi Joshi of Avengers got a century against Wanderers. So that's the second century of the 50 over league. So that was some interesting action. But all the way to the top, Jack is surprising everyone. They got promoted from the second division last year, but they're among the top leaders of the Division 1 league. So that is a bit interesting. I think the top is starting to even itself out, but what is going to be interesting is at the bottom, where teams like Wanderers, Avengers, Toledo B are fighting for their position in the top flight. So we shall keep following that action and make sure, as always, read Kawowo Sports for you to get all these updates. But I'll see you guys very soon, and as always, please make sure you keep reading Kawowo Sports.
Thank you, Dennis. Obviously, we're hoping that the Victoria Pearls are going on to win this tournament. And the opportunity they have given the young girls who have proven a little bit of that they are ready for this stage against opponents that are a bit below Uganda in terms of ranking, who are just coming up in cricket. But I'll turn back to you, David. You were talking about how Boma and Gaddafi played a game that is very unusual. You have a team starting with the bare minimum of the number required. I mean, for a game of football to go ahead, you start a game with 7 players in a division which should be or which produces the team that is coming to the league next year. Tell us more about that fixture.
It is very unfortunate that in Uganda, at the big league level, the league just below the Uganda Premier League, we have a team which is very disorganized as Boma. But of course, managerial issues aside, they gallantly played. Of course, having missed a game the previous weekend, and all the signs were imminent.
It is very hard for a team when you're at home, but you still can't raise players. So what happens on your travels then?
They had missed a previous game. Now you pity their next opponent because they are going to Mida in Bukedia. Mida hosts their games at Kongunga Primary School Playground in Bukedia. I doubt if Boma will travel from Masindi across all the districts to Bukedia. And it has a very big impact because it's the final bend of the season. Remember, there are 4 teams which will be cut off to go to the respective regional leagues, and the top 3 will earn direct promotion to the Star Times Uganda Premier League. As the table stands, it is Bohimba from Chikube district. It was cut from Hoima, which is leading the charts with 49 points. Of course, they are closely followed by Calvary. Calvary never played a game over this weekend. You know, in the big league, there are 15 teams, so every weekend there's a team which misses.
Gets a bye.
Yes. Calvary has 48. Gaddafi was relegated last season. They are now making a very serious comeback. And a new management of UPPC. They are closely following there by 46. Now you can see 49, 48, 46. And closely them, down Gaddafi, it is Spider Black Angels, rather Black's Power from Lira. With 45, and they led for some time before suffering a very bad spell where they lost 4 consecutive games. And below Black's Power, it's Spider Black Angels. Spider Black
Also,
Angels
they're formerly in the league as well.
Yes, has 43 points. So you can see whichever team that forfeits, there will be a very big impact on the table standing.
And that comes with a few matches to complete the season. 2-3 matches to complete the season.
Onduparaka and Arua Hill only have a match to play.
Yeah.
These other 13 teams, because there are 15 teams in the league, the 13 teams have 2 matches each.
Yeah.
Those are 2 weekends, and we call it a season. Of course, Uganda Premier League is done. The Uganda Cup is done for the men. Yeah. Then we shall have been left with the Uganda Cup for the ladies.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. So that means Blacks Power still has a chance to get promoted. Paida Angel is still in the mix as well.
Bohimba is the leader, 49.
Yes.
Then followed by Calvary from Yumbe district.
Yes.
That is 48. Then Gaddafi, 46.
Yes.
Of course, the top 5, as you read them. Blacks Power, that is 45. They also have a realistic chance of winning their 2 matches, remaining 2 matches. Yeah. And Blacks Power has a stern test. They are traveling to Entebbe to play Gaddafi this coming weekend. And that is making the big league very, very interesting at the final bend.
That is
because the top 5 teams, all of them have a realistic chance of making it to the Uganda Premier League next season.
So I mean, with Gaddafi hosting Blacks Power, that means Blacks Power have to win that game to remain in contention. Basically, they are playing catch up.
Actually, it is a winner takes it all between the two. Yeah. Between the 2 clubs, it is a winner who takes it all. In case of a draw, then the final game will have to decide. Yeah. Gaddafi will be traveling to Kataka. Yeah. We know Kataka had a very good run in the Uganda Cup. Yeah,
but not exactly.
And they are very unpredictable at home. And at home, because this weekend they beat Mida 1-0. Yeah. Then Blacks Power will have their final game at home in Lira.
So, by all means, Blacks Power need the result in Entebbe, and
they need the result.
Get something done.
Each of the 2 teams needs the result. What Gaddafi has done, I read their Twitter handle this morning. They have allowed all fans to access the stadium free of charge. I don't know if the fans will come and enter and support Blacks Power, or the fans will come and enter and support Gaddafi. But it is an initiative they have done. I think I saw it in Rwanda when their national team. They allowed fans almost at 2,000. It's almost free of charge. Yes. Just imagine at Nambole you watch Uganda Cranes match at 2,000.
It will be full by probably lunchtime before the match.
That is what they have done in Entebbe. But I, for one, not because I come from Entebbe, but I would like to see football in the countryside. Football back in Entebbe. Since the days of Entebbe Health, Entebbe Works, then Masavu itself. I think it will be very ideal when we have football back in Entebbe.
David, Entebbe is not a countryside. Entebbe is right in the middle.
Okay, I was talking about
just want a Premier League team in Entebbe.
The other 2 clubs in
Entebbe Young and
Calvary and Blacks Power.
Blacks Power
of course, even Bohimba. When Bohimba comes from Kikubi, there will be 2 competitors in the region. That is Kitara FC and Bohimba United Saints.
And I think we would like to see Blacks Power play in that Akiboa Stadium that they are constructing. It would be interesting to travel to it and watch some Premier League football there.
It will be very interesting, especially in that new stadium. I don't know the update. I only hear about the Hoima Stadium, which is very, very...
moving at a fast pace, yes.
Moving at a very, very lightning pace. And I like the work of the engineers, because we are chasing, I think, AFCON 2027. Yeah. It will be too late for Chan in August. Yeah. We are chasing AFCON, and there are impressive signs of having very good stadia when the time comes.
Great. David, you talked of how the football season will now conclude with the women. Obviously, if these stories are on Kawowo Sports, by the way, the FUFA Women Cup is in the final. That final was meant to be played this weekend, but obviously because of the engagement of some of the teams with the players going with the national team for the SCAFA Women's Championship, it was postponed to a date that is yet to be announced. But let's talk a little bit about the semi-finals that saw Kawempe and a countryside team, Amosi College, advanced to the finals.
A key observation, all the 4 semi-finalists Uganda Matters, Amusu College, St. Noah, and Kawempe Muslim, they are secondary schools. And that shows women football is developing very, very fast in secondary schools. The first legs were played last week.
Yes.
I saw a mammoth crowd at St. Gerard's Stadium
in
Rubaga.
Yeah.
In fact, that crowd, I've never seen it in women's football. Amos, I think, sealed it there, winning 3-1 on the day. The following day, Kawempe won at their home ground in the valley over St. Noah 1-0. So that means the return legs were played yesterday. And Uganda Matters traveled to Bukedia, 1-1. Kawempe managed to win 3-1. So that we are witnessing a final between Kawempe, Muslim, and Amusu College, which I predict to be a very, 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 very good final. In fact, it will be a final determined by the tacticians on the touchlines.
And all top flight final, if you may.
Yes, both teams are in the top flight, because the only team in the semi-final which was in the top flight was St. Noah. But St. Noah gave a very good run of their money against Kawempe, especially for given that their lead forward, Sylvia Kabin, had also got a senior national team someone. You know, she's one of the girls who have been playing in the under-17.
Yes.
But getting elevated to national team, it's a very big plus. And calling you before a semi-final gives you the impetus and zeal to work harder and prove to the selectors that you are fit for the job. But coming to the final, which is coming up in the next weeks, I predict a very, very good final, because both teams have the players, both teams have the technical bench. Ayub Khalifa, the best coach according to the FUFA awards, which were held a couple of weeks ago, and Frank Vidianyao at Amusu College. You can feel someone will be attacking, someone will be offensive to attack on the break. So it will be a very good, and you know those girls, the women footballers, they play according to instructions.
They follow the instructions.
Unlike the men who can deviate and improvise on their own tactics.
And do their own stuff.
So I predict a very, very tactical final between the two. I believe I overheard it could be hosted at Nambo, at Nachivubo, or even Mtesa too. Whichever venue FUFA selects, the spectators will be willing to go.
It would be interesting and fun if FUFA just let people watch that final for free, without really having to pay.
And if FUFA does a Gaddafi thing and they allow fans for free, I think it will be paid back to the community.
Of the game. I mean,
maybe they make a modest fee, possibly 2,000
or 3,000.
2,000 or 3,000. Then the students in uniforms free of charge. Because it's school season.
It is annual school.
Annual schools are fair.
Okay, interesting. Of course, you talked about Sylvia Kabene, who has been a live wire all season. Obviously leading her school promotion, but I want to talk about her specifically with the national team. I mean, she got someone which was, I think, a very good gift for a reward for a player who has been in fine form. But I want to talk a little bit about a player who was overlooked, not just for this championship, but in the awards as well. We may not go back to the awards, but Agnes Nabukenya, don't you think she deserved a place in that the forwards that were listed for the tournament?
I, for one, if I were in the shoes of Bottes, I would select Agnes Nabukenya. But because I'm not the head coach myself,
we can talk about it.
You know, the coaches have different tastes and preferences. I try to ask most of the people who are very close to women football teams, and I try to find out why, especially after watching that the goal she scored against St. Noah. that long range.
Yeah.
People were telling me there are so many options up front. Of course, at our own club, Jovia Nakagoro has been very impressive, has been firing on all cylinders.
Yes.
Then, this morning I was engaging someone else. I was talking, maybe she's very young. But told me no, but even Sylvia is very young. She's in the under 17.
Yeah. But
one thing I zeroed to was the taste and preference of the coach.
Yeah.
But I, for one, I would think she deserves to be there, even on the awards proper. But you know the nature of awards, world over,
there has to be
Uganda
some
inclusive. There had to be something very odd, out of the blue to steer controversy and talk about the awards. But given the positional sense, the ball control, the discipline of the ball, the power, the shooting abilities,
and the ability to find the back
the liveliness of a forward. She reminds me of the legendary Ronaldo da Lima. When I grew up, I was admiring Ronaldo da Lima.
Yeah.
The world passes he would play, Agnes Nabukenya has them. Agnes Nabukenya has the involvement of teammates. In women football, it's not normally
it's not normal to see a lot of interplay.
But because it is a 20-man squad, maybe the coach, the South African, had other ideas altogether in her head, which we cannot see. Me as a journalist, me as a fan, which I cannot see.
Yeah.
That maybe the coach is planning this one, and because right from the qualifiers of under 17, she has proved, especially when she was playing that leader's role, having the armband on the arm. You know, when you play as a captain, you play an extra effort as a player. Yeah. We have seen how Milton Kalisa has carried on from the injury to inspire Vipers to double victory in the league.
Yes.
So has Agnes Nabukenya been. So her omission will possibly
poses a lot
raise
of questions.
more dust.
Poses a lot of questions, just like the awards did. But obviously it is that most leagues have concluded it is now international football. That is on every other football mouth. And this past weekend, the Uganda Cranes were engaged in an international friendly, and they have, of course, one today again. But I want us to talk about the one that has already been played against Cameroon. How bad is Uganda, or how good is Cameroon that was not even playing with their superstars, but having a number of guys that are just upcoming and trying to find their place into the Indomitable Lions?
When the league concluded, I think that squad was named. I believe Onana, the goalkeeper at Cameroon, decided to request the coach to be left out of the squad. Yeah. This gave an opportunity to the upcoming goalkeepers. Goalkeepers haven't been playing. A couple of senior players were also left in Mboma. Yeah. Of course, he's finalizing a deal to a top club. It also has given chance to other players to come on the rise. We played that match, raising almost half an hour, 30 minutes without conceding, although we are living dangerously.
as you
Interestingly, Uganda got the chance to
take the lead.
Take the lead.
Yeah.
But because I think Rogers Mato Kasim was sluggish, he wasn't serious. Yeah. He hit the side netting, even with the goal at his mercy. Yeah. And you know those teams, especially the teams from West Africa, Togo, Guinea, Cameroon,
Senegal, and all
Senegal.
Ivory Coast.
If you give them the opportunity, they study the way you play. They kill you off. Yeah. Players like Poco, players like Muhammad Nagida, they are almost the same age as our players. The upcoming player who. Alan Orioth, 22, 23 there. Yeah. But you can see the profiles of their teams, Osasuna. So you can see Cameroon came prepared. Yeah. Of course, Cameroon has the pedigree and mantle. On the current FIFA rankings, they are 50th. Uganda is 89th. Yeah. They come with that advantage over you. We considered 2 goals in the same fashion. set pieces. One was a free kick, swung in by that left back from Osasuna, Muhammad Nagid. Of course, I would blame possibly the height of the goalkeeper, Alion's Nathian. Later, he got injured and he was replaced by...
Alion's has kept a goal for Uganda almost at the second part of the qualifiers.
But when you consider the manner in which we consider those two goals, the balls were swung in where he was positioned. Two goals in the same fashion. One was a free kick, the other was a corner, an in-swinging corner. Yeah. So the technical team, Joseph Puta and Sam Simba plus the back room, they have very, very many questions to answer, especially when you're playing another West African country in Gambia. Yeah. Much as Gambia is 126th overall.
A bit comparatively.
But I've seen they also have very good players who play in the European leagues. So there are a couple of good lessons to take home. Yeah. Especially when you're preparing a team for CHAN, and of course, preparing a team for next year's AFCON 2027.
Look, David, obviously, when you look at the players that Paul put out there, there is not, I think you can say that these are not Uganda's best players. We pretty much put out our A team, but with every international break, obviously there is almost a new guy who is coming in. Joshua came in this time.
Sibic. Yeah. Tony Sibic.
So I want to find out in terms of organization or being a bit consistent with how our team plays in terms of creating the structure of play and getting together guys to play as many games as possible to create that sort of combination or chemistry among the guys. Does that in a way affect how these players perform, especially when we play teams that are relatively stronger than Uganda, that the team always gets dominated? You play against Nigeria, South Africa, Cameroon, you're getting dominated.
Of course, in football there's what they call establishing a winning team, establishing a team, even if it's not winning, but coming up with a team for consistency, a team where you can build rhythm, where you can build a system of play, where you can preach your philosophy as a football manager. Joseph Paul Put, Sam Simba, and the rest of the backroom staff have that responsibility to preach to the team. They have. When they bring in a new guy like Tony Sibic came in, Alan Rioth returned to the team. Yeah. Travis Mutiaba has been left out for some time now. You have to stick to how to maintain that team. In which pattern will the players be positioned? Then, how is your philosophy as a coach? How is your philosophy as a nation? In Uganda, we need to develop our own philosophy. Looking at the team that played, a couple of players who play in the Uganda Premier League were not considered until the second half, possibly in the last 20 minutes when they tried to make a few changes. Yeah. But on seeing how the team played overall, we relied more on the break. Yeah. We sat back. Cameroon brought the game to us. Yes. Of course, the players have played a very, very long season. Yeah. You could see some elements of fatigue at some moment. And those players too have been playing the Cameroonians. Yeah. But because we have weak hearts, our players have weak hearts compared to the Cameroon players we faced. Yeah. Because what I believe it comes from their predecessors. Patrick Mboma was a very, very strong man. Samuel Eto'o played in Spain for a very long time. They have players who have established over the years, and they have carried on that culture. Even if a team comes and it's very strong than them, they have the belief they have to play. Yeah. And they have that format of play, which is maintained over.
Yeah, I mean, this Ugandan team, you talk of how you choose a style of sitting back and then letting the other team come at you and catching on the break. Would you say that is a style or that Paul Putter has taken over, that he's going to play his game on the break? Because based on the players that you put out, of course, Mato is about running, and what we have as our wingers, it's the counter. You think the counter is the best football that suits the kind of players that Uganda has?
Partly. When you look at the crop of players, you have to adjust accordingly on how you will attack the opponent, especially when you have two wide men on either flanks. When you have players who are not very comfortable with the ball from the back. When you have a goalkeeper who is just coming to the system to replace, because for real, for sincerity, we haven't had Dennis Onyango's replacement yet. We have struggled to find one. I'm happy to see Watenga back, because Alion's Nathan got injured in the other game against Cameroon. So how he recovers from the setback he got will mean a great deal on who Onyango's predecessor will be. Of course, you asked about the style of our players. Most of our players are timid, and it is time they come and grab. Look at that chance Mato got in the 32nd minute. On any other day, a very good player
going to put that away.
Would put away that, and you find one. You are one goal up against Cameroon, and also have to look for that goal. So that means football is a game of moments. You can take your chance and defend upon it, then you win 1-0.
You see, you talk about that, and then you look through the squad. Obviously, as a country, we have not produced a typical goal scorer for a very long time. What we have is are not strikers that are going to bag in the goal. So, in terms of a coach developing a system that produces goals from whether the midfield or the players that are not gifted scorers, if I may put it that way. When a tournament is coming up that you're hosting, you want to have to give your fans the best gifts, and the gifts you can give fans are scoring. And when you're beaten 3-0, that says a lot about how your attacking is. Especially, the team did not create a lot of chances. That is it, to be honest. But talk about the scoring problems of the Uganda Cranes.
Goal scoring in Uganda has been a chronic disease, especially on our senior national team, Uganda Cranes. Since the retirement of Majid Mosisi.
That's a long time ago.
That's a very long time. Players who have come up, Geoffrey Seru Nkuma. Of late, we had even half-nine scoring. People from deep 8 coming to making late runs into the backs. Farouk Mia, for instance. Geoffrey Massa. We haven't had established centre forwards.
You know when you have a league where the top scorer is typically a midfielder.
And it is time up now that centre forwards who are natural, Ivan Imbisiwa and company, come and style up. Come and take the opportunity. In fact, they grab the opportunity with open hands to make sure that you can even dwarf the Alan Okeros, players who come from deep to come and score the goals. Even optimizing on the known goal-scoring moments, corner kicks and free kicks. Those are the set pieces opportunities where Uganda has always thrived. Of course, even penalties, once in a while, we are fouled in the box.
You get those unless you won't get those unless
gone are the days when we had open play opportunities created, like Jackson Mayanja used to do in the early 90s. So we need to have more of those opportunities. Players who can crack the defense with the defense splitters. Travis Mutiaba has always tried it. And Alan Okero of late. Of course, we have always pacey opportunities and moments at the flanks. When you have Rogers Kasim Mato on one flank and Karisa, when it is Chan team on the right, or even senior national team, you are rest assured or even Jude Semugabi.
Or
You are rest assured
that you've been using for
you
a while.
can get your opponent on the break and get them when they are very few, and you score that goal.
In all this setup, obviously just the other day, Ibrahim Kasule reached a milestone for Red Bulls too in terms of scoring goals, but he's also a very good creative player.
Creative midfielder.
I mean, when you have the creative force of either Alan Okedo, Ibrahim Kasule, who, by the way, hardly gets any playing time or even getting just someone to come and be part of the team.
Every time he has come here, he hasn't even made a significant impact
to play.
I think it comes back to the coach, the selection of the coach.
Yeah.
Like you asked for the ladies, why was Agnes Nabukenya left out? I believe Ibrahim Kasule, his stature as a person,
Attacker, a small-bodied
person, not very fast like Jude Semugabi or Dennis Omedi. So you find many coaches could say, okay, let us summon him because he's in the US and he's doing well, but when he comes, his mind is already biased, and they cannot even feature him prominently. So that is, I think, where the problem stems from. The test from the coach. The test from the coach.
Does that still apply to Ivan Kakande, much as he has
Patrick Kakande.
Yes, Patrick Kakande. Much as he has not been as outstanding as he was last season, but still he picks his moments. You have a player who can pick a moment and take over the opponents and try to get a few bodies out of the way.
I'm pretty sure the coach is in love with Kakande, Alan Okello, and Arafat Usama. They are quite small in size, but very impactful when it comes to cracking down the opposition. Patrick Jonah Kakande, Arafat Usama, they have been given opportunity against the Gambia, and let us see how they will take the opportunity. Because once the coach gets you the opportunity and you don't capitalize upon it, national team, it's very, very wide.
You have to take the chance that you're given.
The coach is carrying a month of 46 million Ugandans. When you make a wrong selection, when the player doesn't deliver, they say, we have another option. Give him another chance. There are so many parents who are lobbying for their sons and daughters.
But you can see very many players on the national team that have been given an opportunity and they are not delivered, but they have been consistently summoned and
that has come for back players or even central midfield players. But for forwards, creative forwards and strikers, once your opportunity comes and you waste it, you are easily replaced. But you can play on national team for 2 years when you are a centre back or even a full back, when they haven't even discovered your real mistakes you can make. That is how players can hide under the shell for a very long time. But the creative players and the centre forwards, they are easily picked out as targets. Even the goalkeepers, once the ball slips your hands,
that is it.
They say, let us bring another goalkeeper and test him.
David, obviously, as we wrap up, the technical team of Gambia has a familiar face, who is actually familiar with the Ugandan game. Jonathan McKinstry was here. Does that make this friendly a little bit more serious, that McKinstry would want to get one over Uganda, or Uganda would be looking to at least perform and kind of show McKinstry that we have really moved a bit?
First, I thank the organizers of this week. I think they are called the Africa Games Series, who have organized this series of friendlies in Morocco, a country with over 70 playing facilities to the standard of Nambole. Over 70. Our players going there, especially these players who are playing domestically here in the Uganda Premier League, it's a very big opportunity for them to prove. Of course, the coach is trying a few faces here and there as we assemble the team for August in Chan. Coming to the match against the Gambia, we are facing Jonathan McKinstry, the coach.
Yeah.
Of course, he would love to prove a point or two.
Yeah.
Even our coaches here, Paul Port and company, would also like to prove a point.
Yeah.
So it will be a very, very good country. And Gambia, their playing style is almost similar to ours.
Yeah.
Save they have a couple of physical bodies.
Yeah.
I watched their earlier friendly in the week. Sidibe, a very, very physical player and very, very fast. So I know it is going to be a very good test for Uganda.
Yeah.
And the coach himself, because you cannot lose 2 consecutive friendly matches.
Yeah.
The pressure keeps piling, and of course you'll have to prove to many people what is not happening, right?
Yeah. All right. Thank you, David, for coming through and giving us those insights in the FUFA Big League. But I mean, the Uganda Cranes and the women in soccer, with the women going to Tanzania for the Sekafa championship. And we want to thank Dennis as well for joining us from Kigali for this episode.
Kigali, the land of
1,000 hills.
1,000 hills and beautiful ladies.
Yeah. Dennis, you know what to do. David just said that in a way. So we want to thank you guys for watching today's episode and following. Keep it Kawowo. Go to kawosports.com. There will be stories about everything that we have said, and obviously the match reports from Gambia. Dennis will be getting you the updates from Kigali, and everything else is available for you all to read at kawosports.com. Thank you for watching. See you next time.